This is what I would love to say on that subject. I hate the fact that every time someone wants to contribute some type of accolades to any one of our, somebody in my genre of life or my lifestyle, in order to say you're doing good, they're saying you're doing something gangster. No matter how much you want to be gangster, gangster is a negative term.
All my soldiers out here pushing this true movement. We ain't the New West, we the true West. Leaving you suckers behind. DJ Nick B. Making Remy out the bottle, I don't need no glasses. I'm from the east side, I know glasses.
Spotted Loc, the Most Easty. How are you, bro?
I'm blessed in yourself.
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for coming through. We appreciate it, Loc.
Man, I appreciate the invite.
Walk our audience back to your childhood, man. You grew up in the Tragniew Park area of Compton, and you had a religious mom that tried to keep you on the straight and narrow, man.
She most definitely did. Shout out, you know, one of my AKAs is Gloria's son. My mother's name is Gloria, and she's a single mother, never married. My father actually was married to my other mother. Love you, Mary, my mama May, and through that union, I was provided 3 brothers, 2 older, and also a cousin / brother that was older that grew up in my father's house. But my mother, around the age of 8 or 9, I was about 8 or 9, she got baptized, and her relationship with my father ceased to exist based on her taking her journey with the Lord seriously, and that not being a holy sanction. And she tried to divert my upbringing from that point forward in a very religious manner. So I went to private school. Almost every sport, if not almost every sport I played was sanctioned somehow, a church league, things of that nature.
Loc, is it possible for a kid growing up in the hood like Compton, Watts, South Central to stay out of the gangbanging bullshit?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. Right within my family, I have examples of individuals who were raised exactly where I was raised, neighbors as well, who never got involved, of course.
At what age did you get put on the East Coast Crips? When did that happen?
I'm still waiting to get put on. I never got put on nowhere.
So you were born into it?
I got lyrics that say he shot his way on the set. They ain't quoting him on. I won't say born on, but however, I was born into the environment as far as my father lived in that neighborhood my whole life. However, when I came on the set and started doing my thing and hanging out, I just so happened to bring a pistol with me. Even when I was around the homies that were the most active and was on deck, I would be the only one with a pistol. And there would arise occasions where certain scenarios would play out where a pistol would become handy, and I was like always ready and available to utilize it. There was a time when I was anxious, anticipating getting quartered on. But before that ever took place, there were so many incidents to where I had got extremely active with my comrades. It just never, ever, 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 ever came up.
You basically found yourself in a situation where you had to put that pistola in your waistband and go.
Stop. Have to, never. I've never done nothing under the impression that I have to, never. Everything I've done was done by desire. What I wanted to, what I felt to. I had an idea, an impression of what that environment entailed from the outside looking in, and then I approached it with a certain energy, the same way you would imagine Kobe approached the NBA.
That's kind of interesting because a lot of the youngsters, man, that look up to the gangsters, they want to be part of that whole thing, man. What's your advice to these young kids, man, these young guys?
Even if you find a way to win in the long run, you're gonna have to trade and compensate a whole lot of time losing that is unnecessary. You might look at someone such as myself sitting in a position of success or being a winner, having the opportunity to share this message with those that are listening. Even when you ask me to speak to the youngsters, you can judge whatever point you might imagine that you might see me happy at being right now and still call it behind where I potentially would be had I not fucked off so many countless hours doing that bullshit. Not many live to be a grandfather and get an opportunity to say, I'm beyond that, and get a chance to share their experiences and still count blessings. I am extremely humble and feel extremely fortunate that I can count myself amongst those that can. And if you just look at the numbers, youngsters, what was it Scarface, the Ghetto Boy say? Nigga don't believe that song, that nigga's wrong. Gangsters don't live that long. It goes bad for the most. And if you're not looking for your future to have a high potential for just going bad, then you need to really assess what type of activities you get involved in.
There's something called a survivor syndrome. It's where people that have been through some traumatic experiences, such as yourself, almost feel guilty they made it. Do you have that a little bit sometimes?
You must have just peeped. I must have gave a hint of that in my answer. Because I just had that type of thought when I was saying I'm fortunate and blessed. Because, yeah, there's a tinge to that. Because I got little homies and I've seen people who I know for a fact have done so less. And they've fallen victim to some real unfortunate circumstances, even death. And these are some of the things that has also caused me to reevaluate my whole concept of life and religion. So, when you hear terms like karma and consequences, a lot of times I've witnessed what some of my peers have experienced and what they've been served. And it's like, damn, it just causes me to be humble and extremely fortunate to still be alive and capable of experiencing life and its pleasures and its blessings and its hardships.
You've always stood by your own principles, bro. You've never wavered from how you feel, even if it might be career suicide. Take, for example, when you went in on Snoop Dogg, man. Most people in your corner would have said, hey, Loc, pull back on Snoop, man. He's an influential guy. He could get you shelved in the game, man. But you went in on Snoop Dogg anyway. Do you regret going in on him like that?
That's like saying somebody slapped you. Do you regret slapping them back, spit in your face? If you are aware generally of the progression of events between he and I have a video clip of him mocking me for making my way to his peace conference, which I was not invited to, making an attempt to make peace with him because I had said some things that I wasn't proud of toward him and his mother while I was spending time being considered as a role artist with Suge Knight. Shout out to Gangsta Riggs. We was on Eastwood. We had a record called The Row, Y'all Hoes. And I'm not gonna lie, upon the prompting of Suge, I had already dissed on the verse. He had me go in there and say some about cuz Mama Beverly. And I know that was out of line, deplorable, despicable. And I personally had matured to a point where I was ashamed and embarrassed by that. However, I had also just made the union with the Curtisha, Jack's daughter, 50 Cents. And I knew that politically it would make sense for me to establish a line of communication with Kitty Cat. So I wasn't invited to the peace conference, although there was a multitude of artists that were. Shout out Solo from Loc LOEC, my homie who made me aware of the event. I made my way there, long story short, hey man, I know I said the woo wop wop, cuz told me it's all good, keep it crippin', woo wop wop, bam. Later on, because, it was G-Unit crippin', there was a G-Unit movement present locally, and I mounted a defense toward the G-Unit movement, toward Doja, the bitch boy, AKA Jayceon Taylor, the rapper known as The Game. And Snoop Kitty Cat didn't appreciate that, so therefore he went public being disrespectful toward me, left me with very little option on how I should respond. He was asked the question, he said, about, they say Spider Loc was there, he say fuck cuz and that bullshit. All because I had issues with the bitch boy, Doja, Jayceon Taylor, AKA the rapper named The Game. So how ironic is it that my loyalty to Curtisha Jack's daughter caused the issue with Snoop Kitty Cat, and they never skipped the beat, but I end up, you know, but it's just sticking to the script, and I learned long ago, sticking to the script is a lonely road.
If you look at the chessboard, man, you had Snoop Dogg, who was an icon. You've got 50 Cent, who poked through the stratosphere in success. The Game, whether you like him or not, poked through beyond mainstream. He's got people in Germany yelling his lyrics in concerts. So as a chess player, was it the right chess move to go in on Snoop, knowing the board looked that way?
Yeah, because in chess, a lot of times the move that you might think is the right move is not. I come in the game and in life standing behind my principles. I don't really look at, as much as we know that could have been a hindrance, I also assess the source that was supposed to catapult my situation. And then you assess whom has been able to benefit from that source of being catapulted from that. So as much as we want to think and make a correlation between me challenging Cuz and Cuz telling me G-Unit can't save you, it would make a lot of sense, or more sense, had my situation not went and then Curtisha was able to create another situation, which never has happened. I think it has a lot more to do with the fact that he decided to, before I self-destruct. And his relationship that caused him to be a giant in the sense of music, he caused those relationships to deteriorate to the point where, who else has he done it for? I mean, you would look at my situation and think I stunted it, but then if that were the case, there would be another artist that in that time frame that he was able to show some success toward. That situation was over and my timing was bad. Sometimes I feel like Jonah. When I got to the road, it was the biggest label in the world. Got to the unit, it was the biggest label in the world.
So you would have been better off being Spotted Loc Incorporated, man, and just...
I wasn't even Spotted Loc. I would have never been Spotted Loc if Curtisha didn't name me Loc. If you go look at any credits I accumulated prior to meeting him, it was just Spider. I was wise enough to know Loc was not marketable to the... look, bro, the reason why you get so much Crip presence out of me, it was requested. It was upon his request. I'm a rapper, a MC. I went to private school / potential preacher. I went to, for the most part, after 6th grade, no black schools. My exposure vocabulary-wise is beyond the concepts of what you see Crippin', but it was a request. It was kind of like coming to the Lakers and being able to play center, point guard, forward, but they tell you, hey, we got a check for you to play off guard. We're gonna pay. I just play off guard. This is what he requested for me. When he looked at his roster and he had the down south, he had the New York, it was like, bam, this is what makes you different from us. And this is what was a request. So this is why I kind of like led with the Crippin'. Not because that was the artist I was upon meeting him.
But Loc, you know, a lot of people think that 50 brought you on the label beyond the fact you have an immaculate gift of poetry. But he brought you on the label because you were from a big set in LA, and it was almost as if 50 Cent was buying kind of a footprint, a stronghold in LA, a stake in it during the Game beef. Is that a truism or is that bullshit?
Those are only people who didn't witness my meeting with 50, him inviting me upon the roster and then asking me, was I Crip of Blood? He wasn't even aware. Like, did he factor that in after he learned into what he appreciated about everything? Perhaps so. But that was not information he was privy to before he invited me to partake in a situation.
He didn't really understand the LA politics.
Of course not. He's so lost. The dude said,
he was in another...
in LA, I want them to love me like they love Hoover. Hoover is the #1, hands down, most hated gang in Los Angeles.
Right.
So if you want to raise the question, if he understood LA politics, he was totally confused.
He was confused. So that wasn't the case, because a lot of people speculated, why'd he bring, you know, the Loc on the label?
We had a chance encounter. The encounter he had with me is unlike any he's ever had before or since. This is why you would hear him not speak on it. Because even if he tried to describe the actual encounter negatively, if he kept it at all factual, it would display the gift, the talent, the presence that I am. But that's why you would hear no mention of it, because it's almost impossible to discuss it in a negative light. There's nothing negative to say.
You think you were shelved by 50 because of Snoop?
I believe very deeply it could have played a part.
Okay.
I believe there wasn't the only reason. Just think about how much of a hoe 50 gotta be for Doja to be dissing him, going crazy. And 50 know how involved that was on the back scene, right? How much of a hoe do he have to be for me to speak up in defense and then Kitty Cat say, no, Doja is my homeboy. And then 50 just stay on Kitty Cat nuts the whole time. They never skip the beat. They still bosom buddies.
See, Loc, you suffer from a problem, and the problem is that you're too pure to the G code, man. You're too loyal.
I expand beyond the G code with my morals and my commitment. It's the man code. It has nothing to do with a G. My mama taught me half of the principles that I stick to. Even before I even came to trying to even think about being a G, we used to run in the house. They'd tell you, don't come in here tattletelling. That's where that was instilled in us. From day one, they didn't want to hear it. You come tell 2 or 3 times, next thing you know, the person you come telling is popping you, telling you, get your ass up out of here. And then, you know what? But without trying to be over analytical and right, I feel where you're coming from, because the genre of music had us thinking it was mimicking the actual code. And I thought that's what it was. I came into a paintball shooting gun not knowing they were shooting paintball. I thought they had the real deal, so I came ready. I didn't know they was faking. Everybody had T-shirts, everybody was sagging, wearing Cortez, braids, everybody was cousin, everybody was blooding. When I'm in that environment, when I see those type of characters, I took it how I handle the streets, the penitentiary, the jail. When you deal, and it's not really like that.
Your beef with Game is really, you feel like he started banging when the documentary dropped. You don't
Facts
feel
over feelings with me.
You don't feel like he was a
Facts
factor
over
out
feelings.
here.
Facts over feelings with me. I'm not going to discuss how I feel in public most of the time. A lot of times I'm going to discuss the facts in order to keep any room for guessing out of it. It's not about a feeling, because if you want to look for any evidence further than me, Wacko No Hunted, his manager, is caught on phone discussing Doja with another individual. And the way he describes him is, how much time you think Blood spent in the Compton streets? Insinuating none, 0. You could go listen to the testimony of his brother, Big Face 100. He'll tell you how much time he spent doing that. It's not my testimony. This is things that I learned from those that knew him better than me.
You know, a lot of people are like, hey man, you know, the Game was up in the trap house, he got blasted. I mean, it doesn't get any more gangster than that.
I agree.
Okay, so you're coming from a different perspective.
If you got to get familiar with the music. I've never said you never sold a bag of weed. I never said you didn't get shot. You ain't a real pyro. You ain't do no gangbanging. That ain't got nothing to do with sitting in another nigga dope spot getting robbed and victimized.
So that
See, for you to even applaud the victim culture, that's the same way Curtisha was catapulted. Got 9 holes put up in me. Not I put 9 holes in nobody. I got 9 new vaginas that you get, and now I'm hard. Same thing. Out of everything you can imagine to think to attribute him some type of credit, you had to say he got victimized.
So Loc, you think the guy that victimizes the person is the real gangster?
I'm from the neighborhood. Being gangster is not even something I aspire to be. Like, that ain't even something I talk about. Gangster not even something ever comes up in my vernacular. We don't even I'm just solid. I'm sturdy. stand up, stand down. I'm SPI, I'm the low. Yeah, on my mama. I don't care about being gangster.
You said you're from neighborhood, man. Explain the whole, to the guy from, Columbus, Ohio, explain the difference between the neighborhood Crip car, the gangster Crip car, and the different factions within the whole Crip nation, man.
I try to stay away from contributing toward the ability to be educated by gangs on the internet. I'll share my personal experience, but giving general information and knowledge and education, I think is kind of corny when I don't have no idea who's listening and why they're listening and why they would be gathering this information. And a lot of that is just, it's out there. If that's what you're really interested to learn, the history, the neighborhood and all that, you'll find somebody as involved in the culture as myself tell what they believe the history to be. And it would in some ways differ from another individual who is just, so I can only tell you what I've learned through the years. I ain't never been a student and try to figure out, okay, in 69, so-and-so did this, and so-and-so. I'm from where I'm from because of what was happening, where I was at when I wanted to be involved. And then yes, because I've been around, I've heard, learned, and I have an idea. But it's not something that I consider myself an expert as a historian to just start spewing out this, that.
So there is a gentleman online that considers himself kind of a gangologist. His name is Alonzo, StreetTV.net. And I saw you dropped an interview on him, but why are you shaking your head, Loc?
I'm so disappointed in Alex. 2 reasons. Like you say, you saw the interview that I did with him. When he approached me, his name of his platforms was Street Gangs. I told him I wasn't interested in participating because of that. He told me, ironically, he had a name change scheduled to Street TV, and that once he got it official, he'll reach back out to me and then we'll proceed. I wasn't quite aware of the YouTube game at the time, but now I know numbers-wise, I can kind of give an idea of what that, was for him. He and I established a relationship where we was A-OK, cool, buddy up. We then reunited again on the Gangster Chronicles podcast. And I did multiple episodes there with them. And it was myself, Reggie Wright, Mob James, and Cuz. So one particular time while we were there, I decided to go live on my YouTube shortly after it got monetized. I didn't get not one super chat. At the same time, Alex Alonzo decided to go live as well. I was still waiting to experience getting super chats, but I witnessed him getting them. And I was like, we was laughing, smiling. He was going live, I was going live. It was cool. We went on after the episode. I won't say no names. Salute. I get screenshots of him sending text messages to the producer of the podcast complaining about me going live, saying it's counterproductive to their overall objective.
And he's selling your life, yeah.
Yes, and he went live as well, which is not in unison or in concert with the overall objective of what he saw me do it and copied, like, look, and was happy, but then yet and still, after it was all said and done, he complained about me doing it to someone he considered a superior. And he wasn't aware that I got the screenshots of his complaint. I never called him on that, left it alone. However, a few months ago, he reached out to me and he appreciated one of my records that I had circulating online, which was called La La Land. And he asked if I would be willing to utilize that instrumental and utilize some information that he would provide me about himself to do an intro for his platform, Street TV, that he would utilize on a consistent basis to on his platform. He appreciated the record that much. He asked me how much would I charge him. Before I even quoted him a price or anything, I allowed him to give me a lot of information about himself and his platform. And I went to work with my producer because I wasn't sure, it was an older record, if I was gonna be able to get an instrumental piece empty enough where I could rap on. So I'm working on it, corresponding with him over a couple of months, thinking this is my partner now. Over a couple years, we've been fucking around, but I'm aware you did the whole shit, but I've never confronted you on it about how you told. Then I look up, he got this whole nigga from Inglewood on an interview on his platform, disrespecting me while I was actively in the process of preparing music to enhance his platform. We were it just blew my mind. But I feel like the dummy because this is the industry. And how many times I'm gonna allow myself to be surprised at what people who are involved in media, cameras, exposure, what list they'll go to.
Everyone's hunting that clickbait, and I think you're talking about Bosco 100.
No hunted, hunted.
And you've got beef with Bosco.
I have no beef.
Whoa,
Zero beef. Zero beef.
So what's the problem, Loc?
The problem is I've never met, don't know him, have no idea who he is, where he about, nothing, no problem with him, nothing. I have nothing, no interest, no hate, no nothing. If anything, I seen a few clips, that was some funny jokes here and there, that's all. I made a presence on YouTube consistently. He made it a point, took his business to put my name in his mouth. It was never cordial. But at first, it was just innocent joking. I responded, ha, 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 ha. Then he began to get disrespectful verbally. I don't know what else to do but to say, fuck you and your mama, hoe ass nigga. All I know about you is we saw you get dog walked, mollywop, beat the nigga, just, that's all we know. And then since then, you've made a living or whatever you want to call it, off of arguing like a bitch with niggas online. I have so little interest in having a problem with Cuz, is that if you know the Blue Room days, way back, Cuz used to be going back and forth with my artist, Big Payback, way back then.
Rest in peace to Big Payback.
I've never participated, commented on it, got involved, acknowledged it. I don't know what his infatuation is with disrespecting men. I think he has an infatuation, period. His most common conversation about me is about my growth and my length and the rate and the pace. He's not pleased with the pace of my growth. He wants me to grow longer, faster. I don't get it. I don't understand how that's any of his concern, but the majority of his commentary is him laughing at the fact that I don't grow long enough, fast enough.
Right. If I had Bosco in the room right now, what would that look like, Loc?
Comedy, man. Comedy.
You would approach him as a man. You wouldn't fire on him immediately.
I challenge you, and all the multitude of footage available of myself speaking, I challenge you to find me discussing the desire to participate in violence, threatening anyone. No. That's not part of my conversation. I've never, ever made a platform on speaking as if I desire to have physical altercations. I avoid those at all costs.
Let's talk about BG Knockout, man. This guy was a legend in the game. He came out with Eazy-E on one of the biggest West Coast hits. You guys have been beefing, man.
No, we ain't been beefing. I'm very selective about the words I choose. So, you know.
But you and BG are homies, right?
Yeah, we were.
At the end of the day,
homies. We were homies. BG, like you say, legendary status in the game. You know, especially, you know, for streets period, hip hop period, but the Crips for real. You know, we had much love and respect for BG. So when Cuz did that initial stretch and came home in the early 2000s, I was in a position where I was able to invite him into my circle and, you know, let him get his shit off. I don't know, he had other outlets other than mine, but
no, I feel you.
The records could speak for itself, how many records we got and how much footage we have online, trolling, clowning other individuals. The relationship that we had established. I had even given passes to other individuals that he called his brother who had violated me. Cuz had said some bullshit on record with my name in his mouth, and I had promised him, guaranteed him retribution that he had requested in the record.
And BG said, give him a pass.
That's my brother. He begged me. I gave him a pass. So me and BG was cool. And then that legendary status that you spoke on. At one point, he had gotten so far from that, he had got involved on Instagram wearing these filters, like
Right. These little dog, the puppy ears and that
and
shit.
the voice was tweaked to be real.
Right.
And he had the little fake glasses. And I was so disturbed by the images.
You were just kind of like, hey, bro, like, let's rope it back in, you know? And we got to do that as friends, right? We got to say, hey, man, you're going off the rails, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
However he responded, which you probably can imagine defensively, I'm not going to even start from the beginning of what caused us to have this disagreement. I'll just let you know that it got to a point where everybody was aware of it. And then he and I took an opportunity to squash it in the DM. And the very next day after, he was back busy, not adding me, talking just as reckless about me online. It blew my mind.
Yeah, it baffled everyone when he said that Spotted Loc can't go to his own hood. And you responded very quickly with a video where you're at, you know, the Chevron gas station in East Coast Crip.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel...
But that was just a weird little shot at you, man. And I hope you guys can peace up, Loc. I really do.
It's all peace and love. I have no problems with anyone. I laugh at somebody who gets online talking about he gonna shoot me in the face in front of the church and God. That's comedy to me.
And I know you got upset because, hey, if my enemy is your enemy, and if that's not the case, then you're riding against me, right? And that was the whole when he wished 50 the happy birthday thing.
2 years in a row. Yeah. It's not that it blew up. I told you I wasn't gonna go to the beginning, but since you did it, the first time it happened, I called to where he was living. I had someone hand him the phone, wake him up. When he answered the phone, I was like, fuck 50, cuz. It went from there. He was he didn't know where I was coming from. I said, cuz, what you on there? You wrote a paragraph telling cuz happy birthday? Guess what his response is? I don't even know cuz.
Then why are you doing a paragraph?
My point. Yeah. And then we had a meeting of the minds where he said, you know what, SPI? Just because 50 is such a big personality, he said, cuz, I didn't even think about it like that. The fact that I called him on a 10, the way he was man enough to be humble, I took it right back. For sure, bro, appreciate it, cuz. Yeah, good looking, cuz. Imagine my surprise a year later to the day on 50 Cent's birthday, there's a brand new paragraph. I didn't say nothing, but weeks later, there was a post with Buck Jenner, and he was posting a picture of Buck Jenner and classifying him as solid.
Hip hop was started in the Bronx. There's all types of people in the Bronx. You know what I mean? Like, so if anything, a New York person could say, well, that's a New York thing. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I understand what he's saying, and I'm not trying to refute it, but there's also some variables that we need to take a look at. You feel me? Because, you know, it wasn't like hip hop was started in Africa. You know what I mean? Where it was just all Africans, all black people. It was started in the Bronx, a melting pot. You said there was 5 different variants to hip hop. That's MCing, beatboxing, graffiti, breakdancing, and
the fashion, the lifestyle.
Right. So you have all of those things, and to my knowledge, right? Not to my knowledge. I know for a fact when hip hop started in New York City, there was Puerto Ricans there, there was Dominicans there were Asian people there were all types of people there. So, you know, I mean, I understand that, you know, black people had the most that it was their art. I understand that, right? They're influential. You know what I'm saying? What they did, it reverberated throughout the city streets. It just, they created something that was just like, you know, and it wasn't just their creation by themselves. They borrowed from the Latin people. They borrowed from these people. It was a mix of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of hip hop. That it was, when hip hop started, it wasn't, they didn't say, oh, this is just for black people. They said that this is for the people. This is for the oppressed people. This is for the people. We are against the machine. And when we're talking about against the machine, we're not talking about just black people, just Latin people, or just whatever people. It was all the people that were being oppressed by the machine. And that was the music. That was the cry of that oppression. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna take that oppression from the people, from the black people, but there were other people involved with it. You know what I'm saying?
You know, one will argue with you that, you know, music transcends color lines, man. I mean, but is rap really a black art, or can Latinos, can Asians, can...
Is salsa a Latin art? Is square dancing a country, American folk, white art?
Everybody, every culture has their own.
Is Kung Fu an Asian art? When you go study Kung Fu, no matter how American you are, you give all respect and homage to the creators, the originators of the art. And all the successful white rappers have attempted to do so because they're fully aware of their reality. Whether they promote it or accentuate it, it'd probably be counterproductive. Even for the black superstars, it is white consumers that establish and substantiate that success. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out if we can give them somebody they can accept that looks like them, it'll even go bigger. I mean, here you have Elvis. You got Little Richard and you got Elvis. You got Eminem, you got Crooked Eye.
Do you want to remain as an underground artist, or?
I know this sound like the humbles man's statement, but I just want to keep living one day at a time and enjoying life. I threw my life away as a teenager. I'm on borrowed time. Every day, since the day the life sentence that I earned was not attributed to me, and every day outside of the grave is a beautiful blessing. And I appreciate the fact that you're interested in hearing what I have to say. I appreciate that I meet you and you know so much about me. I find value in that as a reality, and that's what I appreciate. I am able and capable of taking care of all of my responsibilities. I have 6 children, a grandchild. When they need, I can provide. I mean, the potential for more, of course, that's fun as well. But right now, I am happy in what is going on.
Loc, where'd this gratitude come from, man?
Whoa, because I realize I'm on borrowed time. Like you said, I might have survivor syndrome. That might be it, bro.
Loc, let's talk a little bit about the forefathers of the Crip movement. And, you know, a lot of people speculate Crip stands for, you know, community, revolution, and progress.
That's one of the reasons I was hesitant to go into history earlier, because I've stated that publicly. I've believed that for a long time. But then just being online, and then that's online, you'll state that, and then you'll hear people or see people in the comments saying it never did. So I'm not sure of that. So I don't want to act like I'm the expert on the history. I just know my history.
Understood, Loc, but here's my point. Crippin', as you understood it, was about protecting the community, looking over the elders, making sure the women didn't get hurt.
Whether I understood it, that was what its origin was or not, I at some point adapted that and accepted that and appreciated that as explanation, maybe for an excuse for me to be able to hold on to it. Because everything, to be honest with you, that I actually experienced is bullshit, negative. But that's like one redeeming attribute that everybody agreed to, that I can say, okay, I'm a Crip. When really, without that being present, I have no validation for still Crippin' or cousin whatsoever. And that's the only thing I can hold on to, whether that was the original mission. It's a mission that is well understood to be, it fits, because guess what else? Some people say a lot of things that CRIP means. Cowards running packs. I'm gonna say community revolution in progress.
And one of your close comrades, Nipsey Hussle, man,
They
was
would.
about that community, man. He started investing back in that. Tell us a little bit about Nipsey's legacy, man.
You know, a lot of people have heard me commonly refer to him as the Keyway Christ. And I say that, I know it might seem shocking to a lot, even blasphemous or sacrilegious to others. But there's a lot of things that Nipsey did or experienced or happened toward him that I feel like happened in lieu of it happening to me. And the same way in the story with Christ, they say it's a story you're supposed to take personal. Everyone personalizes it. So I personalized my experience with him. And like at the time, you mentioned BG Knockout, Can't Go to the Hood. You saw me videotaping myself, trying to prove that I can go to my hood. Look what happened to the Keyway Christ in his hood. Guess what? Neighborhood Nip died in place in his hood, so I therefore never have to go back to mine. That's the Keyway Christ.
Loc, our audience might know what the word Keyway means. Explain
Keyway is Crip in Swahili. Damu is blood in Swahili. So anytime you hear someone say Keyway in reference to our lifestyle, they're describing a Crip.
And Loc, why do you think a lot of Bloods and Crips adopted Swahili as a language?
I believe it has something to do with the prison life and Muslims and being
Maybe throwing off COs or
knowledge of self. I've never thought of that, but that definitely sounds like it makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, Loc, you know, a lot of people are tripping out on, you know, the whole prison story. We've had a few guys that have served long stretches in prison. How was your prison experience on those level 3s in the state of California, man?
Oh boy, man, it's been some time, but the range of things that you can experience, it's from everything from a regular day that anybody can handle to a day where things can get so out of hand to where you don't know if even the worst asshole is going to be able to maintain his poise and control. It can go from being an environment that is pretty much controlled and cool for 9, 10 months to a year straight. And then one day out of nowhere, all hell breaks loose, chaos, a lot of triggeration, a lot of foolery. The most wise thing that anyone that finds himself subject to that environment can do, for themselves, is to learn to mind your own business. Mind your own, you live long is a rule of thumb that transcends through a lot of environments, but it definitely matters in there because what someone doesn't know about you, they fear.
How real was the respect level? Let's say you're walking to chow and a white dude accidentally bumps into you. What kind of situation ensues after that? Like,
I'm gonna keep it a Google with you. Every racial group is more respectful, typically than ours. So if you bump into a wood and it's typically his fault, it might not be. If it's a mutual, there's an excuse me coming. You bump into typically most Hispanics, there's an excuse me coming. The chip on the shoulder, asshole, badass that might not want to say my bad typically be one of us.
Your enemy ends up being a guy that looks like you, right?
Sadly so.
But Loc, some will argue that, hey, look, man, you know, you just said your biggest enemy is someone that looks like you, man.
No, you said that. And I nodded in agreement and I said, often so. I said,
Okay.
so often it's sad to say.
Right.
I never declared my biggest enemy is somebody that looks like
So
me.
who is your biggest enemy, Loc?
It's yet to be identified, personally. I have a multitude of enemies.
But you don't think the white America is your enemy, or do you?
White America has been not much more than an enemy of melanated human beings for its whole existence. If white America loves black America, then why is it that when so often we see encounters with the police, black America is slaughtered in the streets where we have no footage of any other race to show that it is equal. This is not just what happens when you have encounters with the police officers. So many black people have been shot in the back, in their sleep, unarmed. Just with that disparage, how do you go about explaining that without acknowledging?
Loc, let's talk a little bit about that, man, because there, you know, I've talked to a lot of LAPD, LA County sheriffs, and I know you've had your run-in with those fellas, but if I reach for a cop's taser, I don't care what color your skin is. You're getting murked on site. But you're dead on arrival.
That's you as
bro.
an individual. But I can show you footage of a white man not only reaching for a taser, but taking a baton, squabbling with 2 officers, taking their vehicle. Not a shot fired. He beat them with their own baton.
And he got a pass.
He got a pass.
But if he was a black dude, he'd be finished off real quick.
Was that a question or a statement?
I'm asking you.
Don't do that. You're more of a human than that.
It's probably a statement, Loc.
Probably. You still gonna justify it with a problem.
It's a statement.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
It's a
Thank
statement.
You. Thank you.
You got
Thank
me,
you.
man.
We have too many.
Yeah.
We have too much to refer to.
I feel you on that, man.
And we
Like-
want to keep giving the judgment on the impulsive moves
Right.
and judge those. But how about when a guy puts his knee on your neck for 8 and 9 minutes and slowly kills you?
Oh, bro. That's a whole other enchilada, man. And
22 years. And what are you gonna do? Like 13 something?
I mean, yeah, that was a bad situation, man. And that,
Rest in peace,
And you know what,
Natasha Harley.
Loc, you know what bothered me about that is I thought after Rodney King, man, we were past all the bullshit, man, and then it just comes right back up, man. I thought Black America felt part of the situation.
You realize that being past the bullshit means that superiority has to cease. It has to cease to exist. There's no superiority. When you realize that those that are in power realize they have to surrender, that is when you'll realize it's never gonna be handed over. It's gonna have to be seized. It's never gonna be handed over.
And speaking of that rhetoric, Loc, what do you think of Minister Farrakhan and his ideologies, man? Do you trip off his stuff or?
You know what? I was raised in such a religious setting that all my life I considered Minister Farrakhan as an enemy or someone who has an opposing position to myself. I was raised Protestant, Seventh-Day Adventist Christian. And he's radical from what I was taught, Muslim extremist. As an adult, thanks to social media, as I've been able to listen to his message in large portions myself, I find it hard to find fault in much in what he says.
Yeah, but Loc, he's saying the white man's the devil, bro.
Is that what he said?
He said something like that, man.
Something like that.
I think
He's in a country where the white man has said forever that blacks are not human. They treated us, what is more demonic than making your wife watch a white man run up in you, buck breaking, and then separating your women and children. And then after he watches, he makes your wife watch him fuck you. Then he turn around and make you watch him fuck your wife and your children. And then after they separate you, he serves you a meal, and then he tells you, hey, I hope you enjoyed it. That was your father you just ate for dinner. So what's more demonic than that? If he did call the white man the devil based on the experience of black and white in America from what we known it to be, what closer to a devil do we know? You want us to believe in some pitchforks and a tail and some horn? If there's anything demonic about humanity, the closest thing that I have witnessed is what I realize my people have experienced upon this soil. You know why there are light-skinned black people? Your culture created the pale Negro taking the pussy.
And they say Thomas Jefferson had a lot of love children with some of his, yeah.
That nigga Ice Cube say, Uncle Sam was a savage motherfucker. That's why I'm lighter than the average brother.
But Loc, like, how has white America treated you personally?
I considered someone of Caucasian descent one of my dearest friends from 7th grade on throughout 10th grade, on throughout my time in prison. I came home and this was a principal in a school that I went through from 7th grade on, sent my children to the school, my first 2 children, and at the age of 12, she kicked my daughter out of school based on some racial bullshit and politics. Based on the phrase, it's the first time I became acquainted with the phrase. My daughter is now 21. She was kicked out at 12. Based on the phrase that perception is reality. She had a mutual disagreement with a petite, small, young white girl. And based on the development of their 12-year-old dispute, the bottom line was perception is reality, the white, young, smaller female perceived my daughter as a threat, although all adults could agree we all are aware there was zero threat. But because this young, less physically apparently able to handle the situation, female, which was Caucasian, perceived my daughter as a threat. The perception was a reality, and my daughter was expelled by my lifelong white friend.
No, look, that's your personal experience, man. So it is what it is, man. But
That's one experience.
But Loc, don't give up on white people, man.
I have yet to do so. Shout out CeeLo. You know, I ain't gonna expose too much. I got some white partners, man. I think Cat Williams is one of the most brilliant comedians. Where there's a Williams, there's a way of our time, and he has a very familiar skit about white friends. I can take you to some points in my life that where I wouldn't know where I would be without my white friends. Russ Whitney Jr., rest in peace. Do your research, y'all. Google Russ Whitney Jr. That was my partner. He died with a BAYMACC tattooed on him. Look him up.
Yeah, Loc, speak about BAYMACC, man. What is that? Is that an acronym for something?
Be about your money at all costs. And because I am fully aware of the fact that money is nowhere near as deep as an item as we once perceived it to be, the M is mobile. It morphs. So it's to each his own. Definitely because the Kiwi Christ neighborhood nip was pushing the marathon, and he has passed on. It's be about your marathon at all costs. But it's also because we realize our natural state of being is under attack. It's be about your manhood, your masculinity at all costs. If you're a mother, it's be about your motherhood at all costs. I took a hiatus from hip hop for about a 7 to 8 year period.
Why is that, Loc?
A multitude of reasons, amongst them being one of the primary reasons I was bestowed the responsibility of being an example for 3 young males, my man children I was raising, Curtis, Kermon, and Curvell.
All with C's?
C,
Is that a coincidence?
Not at all. Of course not. I also have a daughter named Curtis. But as I became responsible as trying to like be their father, I was more, felt more commissioned and committed to setting an example than anything. Whether than telling them the right way or showing them the right way, I figured I had to set a proper example. My whole career at that time, which was not extremely successful, was based on what I deemed a negative image. And it was kind of hard for me to stay true to that image and still be the appropriate example I would like to be for my man children. So as I was weighing it out at the time, the value that it actually possessed at the moment, and the value what I considered being a more broad example for my young men, I decided like it wasn't quite worth it, and I went into full-fledged fatherhood for a time. And then once they became at an age of understanding where I could let them know, hey, guess what, boys? I know how to pretend to be bad real good. And I asked their permission to readdress the situation as an artist. And they gave me permission, knowing that their father was still the loving, gentle, caring, non-violent, when not needed, individual that they had grown to love. I told them, look, they finna pay me to go show my ass. So I'm finna go show my ass. I'm just pretending, and I used to be. And once I got that understanding with them where I didn't feel like I was at high risk of them mimicking my movements because they know a whole nother me, I felt comfortable acting like Spider-Loc, although I'm Curtis Norvell Williams.
Right. And Loc, you know what you just touched upon is, to me, the most gangster thing in the world is to be a father and to do the hard day in, day out, providing for your family. I think about my dad, who I love so much, bro. And it's just being a father's a real gangster, in my opinion. Speak on that, Loc.
This is what I would love to say on that subject. I hate the fact that every time someone wants to contribute some type of accolades to any one of somebody in my genre of life or my lifestyle, in order to say you're doing good, they're saying you're doing something gangster. No matter how much you want to be gangster is a negative term. Fatherhood is a positive term. So being a fatherhood, way more so than being gangster, is just being human. It's being a man. The things that I've known gangsters popular for doing are committing crimes, snitching. These are the 2 most popular things that I've known gangsters for doing, committing crimes and snitching. So when I think about someone sacrificing or being dutiful to a commitment such as fatherhood, that doesn't really line up with gangster to me. I don't know why every time we see something positive in our community and we want to give it props, we call it gangster. I don't like that.
It became a term that got
It
twisted.
did, and I know what your sentiments were. You were not trying to be derogatory, but let me tell you something, as a father, one of the most offensive things I've been through, I think my son was perhaps in 5th grade, and I went to a parent-teachers conference.
Wait a second. Spider Loc at a PTA conference?
Look, dressed like this, smelling like I smell. The teacher had a dashiki on, the whole get down. She was a female. She had the head, the top, and all this. And she was so impressed with my son. She see how I'm dressed. I think I might have had a tank top on with my tattoo showing. And guess what she was so comfortable to tell me about my son? He's like an intelligent thug. When I see, he's a what? I'm not raising no thug. She thought it was complimentary.
She thought she was appealing to you, right?
Because she saw my son stand up on behalf of the vulnerable or protecting somebody from a bully, and just his mannerism as a alpha male. It was appropriately placed each time she witnessed it. But trying to compliment him, she said, he's like an intelligent thug. And she was shocked to see how offended I was, and I had to correct her, like, 5th grade, Ambler? This is like a prestigious elementary school for black youth in Carson. And I come to a parent-teacher conference and you felt comfortable describing my son as a thug. It's getting hot as fuck in here. Y'all don't understand. They got about 97,100 lights pointing at me.
Hello.
This hoodie is getting hot. Yeah. I've been drinking a gang of cognac, as a matter of fact.
Hey, Loc, does that brown liquor turn you into a devil, or can you maintain?
No, this is the God in me. That white liquor turns me into a demon, that evil white devil. That's where you get the devil at me. This is where I be beautiful, harmonious, smooth. This is where I get everything that is peaceful.
So no Patron for you, man. No
that
Blanco.
Demon. See, he tried to slip that demon in me. Y'all don't even know where this came from. You see the devil? The devil always want to pop his head up, y'all. I ain't gonna tell y'all the whole story. I had a bunch of this and I'm cool. A little bit of this and I'm a fool.
Spider Loc, man.